My topic is influencer marketing versus traditional advertising, pros and cons in detail explain, and let's go to the topic and let's go to the start. Influencer marketing and traditional advertising are two popular approaches to promote products or services. Each method has its own set of pros and cons. Let's take a look at them. Influencer marketing. Pros. Authenticity. Influencers have a dedicated following and often have a close relationship with their audience. When they endorse a product or service, it can feel more genuine and authentic, leading to higher trust and engagement from their followers. Targeted reach. Influencers often have a specific niche or demographic they cater to. This allows brands to reach a highly targeted audience that aligns with their target market, increasing the chances of conversions. Content variety. Influencer marketing allows for more creative and diverse content. Influencers can showcase products in unique ways, incorporating storytelling and personal experiences, which can resonate with their audience and make the promotion more effective. Social proof. When an influencer recommends a product or service, it can serve as social proof for their followers. Seeing someone they trust and admire using or endorsing a product can influence their purchasing decisions. Cons. Reliance on influencers' reputation. Influencer marketing success heavily relies on the influencer's reputation. If the influencer faces controversy or loses credibility, it can negatively impact the brand associated with them. Difficulty in measuring ROI. Determining the return on investment, ROI, of influencer marketing can be challenging. It's often difficult to track the direct impact of an influencer's endorsement on sales or brand awareness. Cost. Collaborating with influencers can be costly, especially if they have a large following or high engagement rates. Brands must allocate a significant budget to engage with influencers effectively. Lack of control. Brands have limited control over the content influencers create. While guidelines can be provided, the final content and messaging are ultimately determined by the influencer, which can pose a risk if it doesn't align perfectly with the brand's values or desired message. Traditional advertising. Pros. Wide reach. Traditional advertising channels such as television, radio, and print media have the potential to reach a large audience. This can be beneficial for brands aiming to increase overall brand awareness. Control over messaging. With traditional advertising, brands have more control over the messaging and creative aspects of their advertisements. They can ensure consistency and align the content with their brand image. Measurable results. Traditional advertising can be easier to track and measure in terms of reach, impressions, and sometimes even conversions. Brands can use various tools and techniques to evaluate the effectiveness of their campaigns. Established platforms. Traditional advertising channels have been around for a long time and are well established. They have a built-in infrastructure, making it easier for brands to navigate and execute their campaigns. Cons. Ad fatigue. Consumers are often exposed to a large number of traditional advertisements daily, leading to ad fatigue. Many people tune out or actively avoid traditional ads, diminishing their effectiveness. Higher costs. Traditional advertising, especially on popular platforms or during prime times, can be expensive. This makes it challenging for small businesses or startups with limited budgets to compete. Limited targeting. Unlike influencer marketing, traditional advertising doesn't offer the same level of targeting capabilities. Advertisements are typically broadcasted to a broad audience, which may include many individuals who are not part of the brand's target market. Declining effectiveness. With the rise of digital media and ad blocking technologies, traditional advertising effectiveness has declined in some cases. Younger audiences, in particular, are less receptive to traditional ad formats and prefer more personalized and interactive content. Influencer marketing and traditional advertising are both effective strategies for promoting products and services. However, each approach has its own strengths and weaknesses. Here are some pros and cons of each. Influencer marketing. Pros. Credibility. Influencers are perceived as experts in their niche, and their endorsement can lend credibility to your brand. Reach. Influencers often have large and engaged followings on social media, which can extend the reach of your campaign. Engagement. Influencer marketing tends to generate higher engagement rates than traditional advertising, as followers are more likely to trust and interact with their favorite influencers. Cons. Cost. Working with influencers can be expensive, especially for those with a large following. Negotiating rates and finding the right fit can also be time-consuming. Authenticity: some influencers may promote products simply for the sake of payment, which can undermine authenticity and create a negative perception of both the brand and the influencer. Limited control: brand messaging and content can be influenced by the influencer, which may not always align with the brand's overall strategy or target audience. Traditional advertising. Pros. Control: traditional advertising gives brands complete control over the message, content, and design of their ads. Audience targeting: with traditional advertising, brands can target specific demographics and geographic locations through TV, radio, print, and other channels. Cost-effective: traditional advertising can be less expensive than influencer marketing, particularly for small to mid-sized businesses. Cons. Credibility: consumers are becoming increasingly skeptical of traditional advertising, as they are aware that ads are designed to sell a product. Ad avoidance: many consumers have developed ad blocking software or simply tune out ads on TV or radio. Limited engagement: unlike influencer marketing, traditional advertising often generates low engagement rates, as consumers are not as likely to interact with ads. Influencer marketing and traditional advertising are two popular approaches used by brands to promote their products or services. Each approach has its own pros and cons, and the effectiveness can vary depending on the goals, target audience, and nature of the campaign. Let's explore the pros and cons of both influencer marketing and traditional advertising. Influencer marketing. Pros. Authenticity and trust: influencers often have a dedicated and engaged following. When they promote a product or service, it can be seen as a personal recommendation, building trust and authenticity with their audience. Targeted reach: influencers have the ability to reach niche and specific audiences. By partnering with influencers whose followers align with the brand's target market, companies can ensure their message reaches the right people. Creative content: influencers are skilled content creators who understand their audience's preferences. They can develop engaging and creative content that seamlessly integrates a brand's message, resulting in higher engagement and brand recall. Cost-effective: influencer marketing can be more cost-effective compared to traditional advertising, especially for smaller niche brands. Instead of paying for broad reach, brands can collaborate with influencers who have a highly engaged audience within their target market. Cons. Reliance on influencers: brands have limited control over influencers' content and actions. If an influencer behaves unethically or gets involved in a controversy, it can negatively impact the brand's reputation. Measurement and ROI: measuring the effectiveness and return on investment (ROI) of influencer campaigns can be challenging. It can be difficult to accurately track conversions or attribute sales solely to influencer marketing efforts. Saturation and trust issues: with the rise in influencer marketing, some audiences may be skeptical about sponsored content. They may question the authenticity of influencer recommendations, which can decrease trust and impact the effectiveness of campaigns. Traditional advertising. Pros. Wider reach: traditional advertising channels, such as television, radio, and print media, have the potential to reach a vast audience, including individuals who may not be active on social media or follow influencers. Control and consistency: brands have more control over the messaging, creative elements, and placement of traditional ads. They can ensure consistent brand communication across various platforms. Established metrics: traditional advertising has well-established metrics and measurement tools to track the success of campaigns. Brands can use metrics like reach, frequency, and impressions to evaluate the effectiveness of their ads. Cons. Declining effectiveness: with the rise of ad blocking technology and the shift in consumer behavior towards digital media consumption, the effectiveness of traditional advertising has decreased in some cases. Consumers are often exposed to a high volume of ads and may become immune or actively avoid them. High costs: traditional advertising, especially on popular channels or during prime time slots, can be expensive. This can pose challenges for smaller budget-conscious brands. Limited targeting: traditional advertising often provides limited targeting options compared to influencer marketing. Ads are usually displayed to a broad audience, which may include individuals who are not relevant to the brand's target market. Ultimately, The choice between influencer marketing and traditional advertising depends on factors such as the brand's goals, target audience, budget, and the nature of the campaign. Approach: combining elements of both strategies to maximize their reach and effectiveness. Influencer marketing and traditional advertising are two popular approaches for promoting products or services. Each method has its own pros and cons, and the choice between them depends on various factors such as target audience, budget, and marketing goals. Let's explore the pros and cons of both influencer marketing and traditional advertising. Influencer marketing. Pros: authenticity and trust. Influencers have built a dedicated following and often have a personal connection with their audience. Their recommendations and endorsements can come across as more authentic and trustworthy compared to traditional advertisements. Targeted reach. Influencers often specialize in specific niches or demographics, allowing brands to reach their target audience more effectively. They have a deep understanding of their followers' interests and preferences. Engagement and interaction. Influencers have an active and engaged community. They can facilitate two-way communication, responding to comments and questions, and creating a sense of interaction between the brand and the audience. Creativity and storytelling. Influencers are skilled content creators who can integrate products seamlessly into their content. They can leverage their creativity and storytelling abilities to generate engaging and compelling content around a brand or product. Cons. Reliance on influencers' reputation. The success of influencer marketing depends on the reputation and credibility of the influencer. If an influencer faces controversy or a loss of trust, it can reflect negatively on the brand associated with them. Limited control. Brands have limited control over the content created by influencers. While guidelines can be provided, the final content is ultimately in the hands of the influencer. This lack of control can be challenging for brands seeking strict messaging consistency. Difficulty in measuring ROI. Measuring the return on investment, ROI, of influencer marketing can be challenging. It may be difficult to directly attribute sales or conversions to specific influencer campaigns, making it harder to evaluate the effectiveness of the strategy. Cost variability. Influencer marketing costs can vary significantly based on factors such as the influencer's reach, engagement rate, and reputation. Working with top-tier influencers can be expensive, limiting access for brands with smaller budgets. Traditional advertising. Pros. Wide reach and mass appeal. Traditional advertising channels such as television, radio, and print media have the potential to reach a large and diverse audience, making them suitable for brands with broad target markets. Control over messaging. With traditional advertising, brands have more control over the content, messaging, and placement of advertisements. This control allows for consistent branding and targeted messaging. Established metrics. Traditional advertising often comes with established metrics and industry standards for measuring effectiveness. Brands can track metrics such as reach, frequency, and impressions to evaluate the impact of their campaigns. Established channels. Traditional advertising relies on established channels and platforms that have been used for decades. These channels have a level of trust and familiarity among consumers, which can benefit brand perception. Cons. Ad blindness and avoidance. Many consumers have developed ad blindness and actively avoid or ignore traditional advertisements. This makes it challenging for brands to capture and retain audience attention. High costs. Traditional advertising, especially through television and print media, can be costly, especially for small and medium-sized businesses with limited budgets. It may require significant investment to secure prominent ad placements. Lack of personalization. Traditional advertising typically offers limited personalization options. Ads are often broadcasted to a wide audience, which may result in less relevance and engagement for specific individuals. Less trust and authenticity. Compared to influencer marketing, traditional advertisements are often viewed as less trustworthy and authentic. Consumers may perceive them as biased or purely promotional, leading to skepticism and reduced effectiveness. Ultimately, the choice between influencer marketing and traditional advertising depends on the specific needs and goals of a brand, as well as the characteristics of the target audience. Many companies find that a combination of both strategies can be effective in reaching a wider range of consumers and achieving diverse marketing objectives. For example, if a brand is targeting a younger, more digitally savvy audience, influencer marketing may be more effective. However, if the brand wants to reach a broader audience and control the messaging of their campaign, traditional advertising may be a better fit. Ultimately, a combination of both approaches may be the most effective strategy for some brands, as it allows for increased reach, credibility, and control. Additionally, the type of product or service being marketed can also impact the effectiveness of influencer marketing versus traditional advertising. For a product that is visual or highly experiential, such as fashion or travel, influencer marketing may be more impactful as it allows consumers to see the product in action and get a better sense of the experience it provides. On the other hand, for more practical or utilitarian products, traditional advertising may be more effective as it can clearly communicate the product's features, benefits, and value proposition to a wider audience. Ultimately, the decision to use influencer marketing versus traditional advertising should be based on a deep understanding of the target audience, the brand's messaging goals, and the product or service being marketed. By carefully considering these factors, brands can create a marketing strategy that resonates with their audience and drives measurable results. Thank you for watching the video and subscribe the channel.